they say that when you practice a certain thing for 21 days, it becomes a habit. Now, of course, one will have to read the book to understand what one has to do in those 21 days. But how would you describe it in brief?
Reconfigure the way you eat, the way you wake up and sleep, when you eat, how you exercise, how you interact with others, how do you even regulate your own stress, right? Because that's the most important. So I'm just teaching you over a period of 21 days to really come back to living the way our ancestors did at a time that we were thriving, but with the ability to bring it all to your modern day and your modern life.
How a lot of clients of yours are going through emotional distress, but instead of choosing a shrink, they come to you to understand what to eat, to be able to fix their emotional aspect. How does that work?
If a thought is going to change your chemistry right away, over a period of time, that biochemical reality is going to change your entire biology. It's going to change your organs. I always start there. I can give you the best diet, the best exercise regimen, but if you have not learned to regulate your feelings and your emotions, it's not going to work out.
Why one should not do what is believed for the longest time? So, for example, fruits first thing in the morning.
Not eat fruits first thing in the morning.
Raw salads versus cooked food, the healthier choice.
Cooked food always and every single day.
The harder you work out, the healthier you will be.
The harder you work out, the drier you will be.
Hello and welcome to Booked. I'm Suesha Samant, and joining me in the studio today is Nidhi Pandya. A lot of you must have read her new book, Your Body Already Knows. This is her debut book. And why a lot of the readers are loving this book is because the ancient secrets of Ayurveda are shared in a modern voice. Now, she's a third generation Ayurveda practitioner. She's imbibed all her learnings from her grandfather. And the reason a lot of you are loving this book is because this is a book that tells you that if you follow your body's cues, you can achieve the optimum inner climate, and the balance and healings are all inside your body. Nidhi, I want to thank you for joining us here today. And I have read the book myself, a lot of tips that I've taken. But let me start from the start. You know, the title of the book is Your Body Already Knows. A lot of times, we miss the cues that our body is giving us. And sometimes we fail to recognize what those cues are. How have you simplified that process in this book?
Yeah. So, Suesha, first I must clarify, what is the meaning of your body already knows, right? Because somebody could very well be like, my body wants to watch Netflix till 1 a.m. or my body is craving this big bag of chips. And that is really not what I'm talking about when I say your body already knows. What I really mean to say is that if you look around in nature, right, and we see every single species on this planet, they all know how to live. I use the example of a deer, for example, right? Deer knows that they wake up in the morning at a certain hour without the alarm clock, and they go and graze at possibly the same exact patch of grass day after day after day without complaining, without any external experts telling them what to do. Similarly, every other species on the planet does the same. Tigers don't get carried away with the 5 a.m. club and wake up early in the morning. And nursing mammals will actually eat galactic plants. And animals that are wounded will roll in sulfur-rich soil so they can heal. How did we forget that as the most intelligent species, we have forgotten what every other species knows on the planet? So this book offers you a framework to come back to that intelligence which is already within us.
You know, Nidhi, we were also talking about how a lot of people these days complicate wellness. Given the ton of cosmetic and beauty treatments that are available in the market today at a hefty price, offering that quick fix, what is your advice to those people? Because sometimes they just find it a rather lengthy process to work on their diet and their sleep, which will deliver the results after a while.
Right, absolutely. And we are used to a fragmented approach. We like a fragmented quick fix. But the truth is, So Yesha, you and I, yeah, we are looking younger than our parents' generation, but we are feeling older. And what intervening with this whole body in this fragmented manner does, it kind of creates chronic illness. So you won't be acutely sick. It's not like, hey, I have a fever, I'm going to be home for 3 days. People actually end up living with underlying conditions for their entire lives. Because the truth is, every time you touch the body at a deeper level in a manner which is unnatural, it changes the entire system of the body, the transportation of substances and fluids, the distribution, the elimination, the thermoregulation. Our body is such a perfect machinery, and it is so complex that in 1,000,000 years, man will never understand what is really, really going on. So to break it apart into pieces and say, this is what I'm going to do for this part of my skin, and this is what I'm going to do for my hair, and this is what I'm going to do for my nails, and to kind of really not look at us as a whole being, and knowing that whatever we do has to support our entire system versus just one part or one organ of our body. So in the long term, it can be a very detrimental approach, and also it can leave people feeling less than good, right? Because there is something very incomplete, very scary about relying on experts, about relying on information. What really happens is we lose wisdom. You know, wisdom is really, our insight and our wisdom is really what kept us going for thousands and thousands of years. And today we've come to an age where information is at our fingertips, and that really takes us away from what we know.
But you know, Nidhi, we living in India, somewhere Ayurveda is, I believe, is within us. Nani dadi ke nuskhe, dadaji ne kya bola tha, we're just like living with it. You're in New York for many, many years now, over a decade. How do the Westerners respond to the ancient practices of Ayurveda?
And you said this very correctly, right? Ancient practices. So Isha, what's left of Ayurveda in India? I'll be very honest, because I grew up in Mumbai. I lived here for 20 plus years. And we think Ayurveda is about ancient practices. We think it's about, you know, when I was growing up, there used to be herbs in purkis. Like my dadaji used to give little herbs and little purkis, powders, and, you know, smelly oils. And honestly, that's the Ayurveda that has that's been left in India. But that's not even the tip of the iceberg. Ayurveda is a whole, complete science. It has everything from social conduct to circadian rhythms to fertility to how to live. And what the Western mind is very, very open to is going beyond these herbs, going beyond. Yes, some of the rituals really make it, but some of the more technical and the more traditional practices, even if you didn't bring them in, you could still practice Ayurveda as the ultimate science of life. Something as simple as, let me give you an example. How do we live according to the cycle of the sun and moon? It is probably the first science that introduced this idea of the circadian rhythm. How do you cook your foods to make them more digestible? And here you never have to touch an herb. You never have to do a practice. So the Western world has a very curious mind for such simple tweaks. Personally, with my clients, what I find is that rearranging their day or changing the way they cook their foods just this much gives them such great results that they actually want to come and say, now let me do one step more. Let me scrape my tongue. Let me do oil pulling. Let me do nasya or abhyanga. So you have to start somewhere that it feels easy. And part of my work is to start at the easiest place. I like to meet people where they're at. And that's really what the book does as well. A very kind, gentle, loving approach. Not, if you don't do this, you're going to get sick. None of that.
You know, since you mentioned the ease factor, given the lifestyle that most of us have, it is not possible sometimes to hit the bed by 10 p.m. or, you know, have a light dinner if you're probably dining with a client. So, given the fact that you offer the modern day approach, what are your easy solutions that one can practice to be able to imbibe this sort of a lifestyle?
Yeah, and that's great, right? So I'll say, so Yesha, it's taken me many years to kind of create that myself. But I say that you don't have to get it right on the first day. But you want to start mapping out your journey, right? I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say you were driving from Delhi to Dehradun. And if you actually got on the wheel and you're going to keep thinking, when am I going to reach Dehradun? Oh my God, another 4 hours, another 3 hours, it is exhausting, right? And sometimes people just want to get to that Dehradun right away. I say it's okay. Even if you're going on a motorbike and you get to Dehradun after 10 hours, you're fine. You just have to keep progressing. So I tell people, if you're sleeping at 1 a.m., you move to 12:45. If you're sleeping at 12:45, move to 12:30. You just gradually, a little by little, create the comfort of creating an earlier bedtime. And sometimes when you have a choice, right, like when you have a choice or doing absolutely nothing, just knowing that early bedtime will offer you an extra layer of repair, now makes it easier for you to actually want to go to sleep. If you just don't even know that this earlier bedtime can mean so much to my body, chances are you're going to be indifferent to it. You're going to be like, okay, let me just watch this whole new, like 10 episodes of this new show that's come out. So I think first, understanding this is key. And even with dinners, I'll be honest with you, right? I started off with like eating light dinners if I go out. Today I'm at a place, so Yesha, I am completely unashamed. I will go out and I will just eat soup. And I'm like, because I've come to that point, it's maybe taken me years. And I eat big fat lunches, but I eat very, very small dinners. So I tell people to arrive there as they feel comfortable and to have their cheat days. So one of the things I want to tell anybody listening to this is meet yourself where you're at. You don't have to climb Mount Everest today. You just have to take one step forward.
You talk about the 21-day reset, and they say that when you practice a certain thing for 21 days, it becomes a habit. Now, of course, one will have to read the book to understand what one has to do in those 21 days. But how would you describe it in brief?
What you're doing for the 21 days?
Yeah, the 21-day reset formula.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if I have to really break it down and just give you like broad buckets, first we're rearranging the way you live, which means you start eating heavy lunches and light dinners. Most important, because we are mammals of the sun. You know, we're diurnal mammals. So you want to eat when the sun is at its peak. So I kind of teach you over a few days how to reset it so it doesn't feel very drastic. And then there's another piece of advice that says that you want to start cooking your foods and how do you use your spices. So it's nothing different. I'm barely asking you to add things to your day. I'm asking you to reconfigure the way you eat, the way you wake up and sleep, when you eat, how you exercise, how you interact with others, how do you even regulate your own stress, right? Because that's the most important. So I'm just teaching you over a period of 21 days to really come back to living the way our ancestors did at a time that we were thriving, but with the ability to bring it all to your modern day and your modern life.
You've said in the book that emotional digestion is as important as physical digestion. You've emphasized that traditional Ayurveda does not separate the body from the mind. In fact, you've also mentioned anecdotes of how a lot of clients of yours are going through emotional distress. But instead of choosing a shrink, they come to you to understand what to eat, to be able to fix their emotional aspect. How does that work?
That is such a great question. And so, Yesha, like I just want to, so the reason why sometimes people would come to me instead of going to a shrink is because they don't come looking to target their emotional problem, right? They had an emotional problem, somebody is binge eating, put on several kilos, and now they're like, let me go to an Ayurveda doctor to shed off my kilos. But when they come to me, and this is always part of my work, I'm specifically thinking of this one Egyptian woman who lives, who lives in the United States, and she was about, I would say, several kilos, overweight. And it's not just the overweight that is the problem. Her body was slowing down, her mind was slowing down, and there was severe depression. And the minute I saw her, I realized that this is not just coming from food, right? Her mind was slowing down first, actually, right? The mind is the driver. The mind tells you what action to take. So you can have the best car. Let's say you do everything right, like you go to the gym, you eat your right foods, all of that. But if your mind is not regulated, imagine a driver that's driving a beautiful car, but is really not in his senses. It's only a matter of time that he will crash. And we saw this during the pandemic. We saw so many people who had really created this control over their lives. But when the time went wrong, they really hit a point where they just couldn't look after themselves anymore. They had really gone and done things that they would not normally do. So your mind is the number one place. And there are a few things that can happen. And especially, right, we start using food for control. That's the first thing. We do it as babies. That we feel uncomfortable and we say either we eat more, we eat less, we kind of disturb that relationship. Now, the truth is all of us eat a few times a day. So when you have a messed up relationship with food, that shows up in your life so many times. But not only that, every thought produces a chemical in your body, right? If you and I just thought about something that was sad, something that's sad to you, something that's sad to me, instantly you and I could tear up. And that's a chemical reaction, right? So imagine just a thought, or you think of something scary and you feel like you have goosebumps. So if a thought is going to change your chemistry right away, over a period of time, that biochemical reality is going to change your entire biology. It's going to change your organs. I always start there. I can give you the best diet, the best exercise regimen, but if you have not learned to regulate your feelings and your emotions, it's not going to work out. And this is what I see. I was talking about the Egyptian woman. You know, she came to me for weight loss, and to her surprise, I did not even give her the strict regimen that she was expecting when she was expecting cucumbers and tea and all of that. I literally said the first few days, couple of weeks, let's work to see when does it get intense? What gets you rushing for that packet of chips or that big cheese sandwich? And what's going on inside? And when you feel that storm coming up, what can we do? We created a whole list of tools. What tools can you use to learn to regulate? And that becomes a game changer.
You know, in this book, you've also busted some of the myths. So I wanted to do a rapid fire of sorts where you don't answer in a word, but you explain to our viewers why one should not do what is believed for the longest time. So for example, fruits first thing in the morning.
Fruits first thing in the morning, your body has a lot of mucus first thing in the morning. People who have nasal congestion can see the mucus, the eye boogers. So you don't want to add something that's cold and soggy to your gut. You want to add something that's warm and spiced. All blue zones, places where people lived over 100 years, they ate warm and spiced breakfast, and that's what your body deserves in the morning.
So one shouldn't take fruits first.
Should not eat fruits first thing in the morning.
Right.
And by the way, I would say till 60 years ago, we were not eating fruit first thing in the morning. This is a new modern nutrition myth.
Okay. Raw salads versus cooked food, the healthier choice.
Cooked food always and every single day. And if you look back
because we've always believed that having your vegetables raw is the best thing you can do to your body.
And then your gut has to cook it and take all of that energy, and all your microbiome, the good bacteria, has to get employed in digesting that raw food. I mean, at the end of the day, whatever you eat has to go through the same process and comes out of your body looking like the same thing. Don't give it this long journey. But also, if you go back into the research of what made us human beings, why are we different from the other species on the planet? It is because we started cooking our foods. And this is not an Ayurvedic scientist who's done this. This is evolutionary biologists who've studied this. The minute we started cooking our foods, our gut became smaller, the gut bacteria changed, our brains became bigger, we started walking on our feet. It is what makes us human. I mean, Suresha, can you imagine if you were stranded on a forest with amazing fruits, to be satisfied with those fruits after day 12? You'd probably be like, I want something warm and moist. Literally. And so that's what has made us human. I wouldn't want to become primitive again.
Right. A late night dinner is totally fine as long as you're eating light. A lot of us believe in that.
A late night dinner, let me just break the myth.
Okay.
That before 1930s, when we did not have electricity in our homes, and we did not have chronic disease as well, nobody was sitting at night lighting lamps at 10 o'clock saying, it's okay, let's eat late night dinners. That just didn't happen. So we can do it, and we may occasionally do it, but it's going to take us several generations to actually evolve to a species that has the bacteria to digest a late night dinner. So late night dinner, no matter heavy or light, avoid it as much as you can.
Right. Green juices and detox smoothies cleanse the system. Is that right?
They cleanse the system, but they can also cleanse your juicy, beautiful mucosal lining that's protecting your gut. So sometimes they can give people short-term results, especially if you have high cholesterol, plaque in your arteries, sugar, diabetes. But over a period of a long term, it's going to hurt the environment of your gut, because the mucus lining, which keeps that environment moist, will also be shattered.
So juices are a big no-no.
So juice, once in a while, I am completely the believer of do it for fun, don't do it for health.
So ideally, your fruits and your vegetables should be consumed in a form where it is cooked?
Fruits you can consume,
yeah. Vegetables.
During the daytime, sun is out, between 10 and 4, go for it, enjoy. And also I do want to say, I know I'm going to kind of going back, but if you have nasal congestion, if you're sneezing and you have allergies, and if you're consuming fruit first thing in the morning, my suggestion to you is for just 3 days, don't eat fruit at all. And then when you start again, start in the day and notice what a big difference it'll make to your health.
Good one. The harder you work out, the healthier you will be. No. You say no.
The harder you work out, the drier you will be.
Okay.
Because working out really, you lose a lot of fluids on the body, but you also lose not just water as fluids. you lose a little bit of your mucus lining, of your synovial fluids that's in your joint, a little bit of your collagen. And you see that with people who work out very, very hard, suddenly they have wrinkles on their face, right? So you want to work out today what they're calling zone 2. You want to work out to a point that feels moderate, where you're breathless, where you had a little increased cardio, and you want to tone, especially if you're a woman, you want to tone yourself in a way, what they're called slow twitch fibers. You want to train those muscles that take a while to train, but then stay with you longer. So you want to always train and exercise moderate.
You've also said in your book that this one-size-fits-all idea is wrong because there are these new diet trends every now and then, keto, intermittent fasting, juice cleansing your body, but personalization is key. Why is that?
Like even the same plant of different species, even the same species of the same plant, if you plant them in 2 different countries, the way the soil, the amount of nutrients they need changes, the sunlight they need changes, the amount of rainwater they need changes. So can you imagine, as human beings, we need the same exact food, we wear different clothes, we metabolize differently. You and I can be sitting on the same bench, but mosquitoes could bite you more than me, which means our entire blood composition can be drastically different, our body composition, our fat composition, our muscle composition. How can we eat the same foods to nourish 2 completely different bodies?
You talk about Ayurvedic rituals that are very important, especially you talking about tongue scraping, nasya and oil swishing. Tell us about its benefits and why we must inculcate it in our lives.
Firstly, they're so quick to do that it's not going to hurt you. Just try it and then you'll come and tell me why that was so good for you. But I'll tell you. So tongue scraping, right? Every night when our body undergoes that deeper level of digestion and repair, there's gunk, there's residue that's left and it comes up on our tongue, right? Think of it as a ceiling in your kitchen. If you were cooking every day, you're going to have gunk on your ceiling, which needs to be cleaned out. That's kind of what our tongue is. So in the morning, you want to clean that gunk out with a nice tongue scraper, a metal tongue scraper, copper tongue scraper. And that's going to clean it out, but it's also going to stimulate your digestion and get you ready for that next day. So that's the tongue scraping. I will talk about the nasya. Oh my God, the most underrated practice in the world. Putting those herbal oil drops in both your nostrils. The nose actually has an inlet to a part of the brain that regulates your memory, prevents Alzheimer's, dementia, and a lot of other conditions. So those 2 drops can make it all the way there. But not only that, it's great for your sinus region, for your ENT, for just even preventing bacteria from getting into your system. Where we are living today in this polluted world, nasya is a magical practice. Oil pulling, which again replenishes the microbiome in your mouth. So people who have gingivitis, who have gum disease, who have a lot of cavities, but even if you didn't have any of that, and you just didn't want your jawline to move, or you just didn't want, you don't want to deal with crooked teeth, oil pulling is such a great practice to replenish the good bacteria in the mouth and create an environment which is healthy for your mouth.
Nidhi, I want to ask you a lot more, but given the paucity of time, I really want to thank you firstly for coming here. I also want to know what your plan is after this book. Are you already in the process of penning your next book? What's it going to be about?
So honestly, I've had a lot of ideas for what books I want to do. I definitely want to write about women's bodies and how they're different than men's bodies in a way that everybody can actually understand and relate to. And then I also want to do a deep dive into sleep, deeper than what we've done ever before. But let's see which one of them take life first.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today and being here on India Today on Booked.
Thank you so much for having me, Soyesha. All right.